After a quick road trip, Ball State returns to their home nest, facing 4th in conference Western Michigan in a Mid-American Conference showdown. It's time for Ball State Gymnastics on SportsLink TV. As fans continue to trickle in, we're all comfy cozy inside Irving Gymnasium here on the campus of Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, home of the Cardinals. Hello everybody, my name is Jacob Bartleson. My colleagues tonight, Allison Wilson and Kelly Brock. Now ladies, it's been a week since these last two teams have competed.
Not quite sure what's happening. Going live. You guys gotta go live. We're going live right now? We can't hear anything. We're live. We're live.
Welcome inside Irving Gymnasium here on the campus of Ball State University, home of the Cardinals. Hello everybody again, my name is Jacob Bartleson. I'm joined by my colleagues tonight, Allison Wilson and Kelly Brock. Now ladies, this has been a long time coming. We've been talking about these two teams for several days now. What are we excited? What can we get excited about coming in?
You know, I think Ball State's had a really solid season. The scores just aren't showing what they've been doing. I think they've been practicing hard. They've had good rotations on every single meet, but it's just not been showing. And I think that tonight's really an opportunity for them to come back and beat this Western Michigan team. You know,
I'm going to have to agree with you. We sat down with Coach Salim earlier this week, and she was talking about how it was a 5-year process, that last year was her first year, and you're not going to turn around the program in 1 year. Kelly, you can attest to that. You know, how's the program been developing?
The program's been developing really well. Ever since Coach Salim started taking over the program, everything's more administrative, everything runs more smoothly. She's really starting to turn the program around, and I'm excited to see where the program goes in the next couple of years.
And this is definitely going to be a good test for the Cardinals tonight. Again, it's been a struggle in the win-loss column, 0-6, but Coach Salim has repeatedly said, don't pay attention to that. Don't pay too much, and closely at least, as there's so much more to the story.
And she told us in practice, she said, they've gotten their feet wet with me. So we're halfway through the season. There's plenty of time until MAC play. They have time. They're just getting their feet wet, deciding what they need to do. And she ultimately said, we're going to make that exclamation point at MAC tournament play.
On the other side of this break, we'll take a quick one. Rotation 1 is next. You're watching Ball State Gymnastics on SportsLink TV.
Get ready, unsuspecting TVs and laptops in a UVerse home. We're about to compare you to Xfinity. When 2 HD movies are playing in a UVerse home, their fastest internet slows down. 2 HD movies in an Xfinity home? The internet stays fast because it's 2014. Hello?
Ugh. So last season.
Exactly. Fast never goes out of fashion.
Indiana lawmakers have replaced thousands of paper documents with iPads. Ball State created a special app, and my team integrated it into the complex legislative process. My next step, one of the nation's top law schools. Ball State. Education redefined.
Stoops Automotive is proud to present Ball State's only all-sports magazine show, telling the best stories in Ball State athletics. The Emmy Award-winning Driven airs locally on WIPB-TV, across the state on Comcast Indiana, nationally on Fox College Sports, and on demand at ballstatesports.com. Ball State Sports Link and Stoops Automotive, driven to be the best.
Welcome back inside Irving Gymnasium. Hello everybody, Jacob Bartleson on hand, along with my colleagues Allison Wilson and Kelly Brock, as we're sitting here waiting for rotation 1. It is a touch period. We'll be getting started very soon. Now, ladies, let's continue to talk about these two teams. Ball State coming in as we get Jayla Washington. We get the lineups here. Jayla Washington will start off. Here we go.
Jayla takes a big step out of that vault. That'll definitely be a couple tenths, but she had a lot of power coming down that runway.
Kayla Beckler, Sarah Ebeyer, Erin Patchy, Denasia Christian, and Juliana Booth will follow her up as well.
Kelly, how do you avoid those steps on that vault? What did she need to do a little bit better on that?
Well, she had a lot of momentum coming off of the horse, which caused her to take those steps forward. But if you place your hands in a certain direction, if you place them up, your momentum will slow down. But if you place them forward, your momentum will keep going forward, causing those steps.
Kelsey Hood now coming up on bars for Western Michigan, but a sophomore.
And Kelsey Hood is averaging about a 9.8 on bars, so this is definitely her event.
And here's the interesting thing about Miss Hood. She began gymnastics at 18 months old.
Wow. Big release move.
Her mother also works at the academy she came from, the Olympia Gymnastics Academy, works there as well. Nice landing.
Very nice landing from Hood.
Now, Kelly, what did you see in that routine? Anything you liked, didn't like?
What we need to focus on when we watch bars is the handstands. She needs to be completely vertical or at least 10 degrees below vertical, or else the judge will not count the handstand, and handstands are very important.
Coming up next, it'll be Kayla Beckler. She is our gymnast to watch, a sophomore out of Perfection Gymnastics, veteran at Cincinnati, Ohio.
Now, Kayla's pretty new to all-around as of this year, but she's done amazing. She's really held the team together. We'll see if she can make that happen here. Good double full layout.
A little crunchy on the table.
So a nice job from Beckler in the second spot. Ball State's going to need that consistently all night as we get set with a bar routine. And the first score coming in, Jayla Washington, the first, a 9.37. Good start for Washington and Ball State. Anna Corbett now for Western Michigan.
And Anna Corbett last meet got a 9.675, which was a little bit low for her. But again, she took those steps on the landing last meet, so we'll see if she can stick this one coming here at Ball State.
Corbett's a veteran that hails from Geneva, Illinois, not too far down the road from where I hail, St. Charles. Now I was able to catch up with Corbett's club coach, Don McPherson, earlier this week, and he just had glowing reviews about Anna Corbett. Says she's one of the hardest workers that he's seen in his gym. And she's really got a remarkable story as well. We'll learn later about that.
For a sophomore competing all around, I think that's a big statement for her, coming in, as just such a young athlete and being able to compete all around for her team. Now, Kelly, just tell us a little bit about that entry. How does that differ from other entries?
Well, other entries, you can either mount the low bar, you can either enter on the high bar, or you can do a jump over mount like she did. The jump over mount gives it a little bit more flair and a little bit more interest.
And again, we'll see if Western Michigan stick these dismounts. Takes a little bit of a step.
Small step and her chest was down. That'll lead to a couple of deductions for her final score.
So a nice start for Corbett and the Western Michigan Broncos. On that last one, Kelsey Hood, first on bar, a 9.75. As you see on the replay, Corbett.
Just a little step, probably going to lead to a couple deductions, maybe match her score from last meet.
Now here comes Sarah Ebeyer, a sophomore from Whiteland, Indiana.
Now, last meet, Ebeyer competed at 9.8 on vault. Really an excellent score. She had an amazing meet. We'll certainly see if she can hit that vault again today.
Now, Kelly, quickly, what's going through her mind as she's getting set for vault?
everything that she needs to do. A couple of steps is going to really hurt her score. But like you said, what she was thinking before the vault, she needs to accelerate and she needs to get that power right straight off the horse so that she can turn in the air and make for a good landing. But at the same time, she needs a certain level of peace, and she needs to be able to stay calm so that she can execute everything that she's practiced.
As we got some more scores trickling in, Kayla Beckler a 9.65 on vault. So a good start for both teams early on here in this meet.
A couple high scores. You know, I think that Ebyra is probably looking to get that 9.8 again this meet, but we'll see what she can come up with.
Now coming up on bars, Jessica Yunchai.
Again, doing that same entry that we saw Corbett do.
And I was able to catch up with Yunchai's coach, Lori Cook, and she just said she's extremely dedicated to her craft.
A combination move on top of the bar. Her feet were just a little piked on that combination. Probably going to lose a couple tenths on that.
I would have to agree.
We did see a little bobble there. So that might take a tenth off her score or two.
I definitely see where their coach is coming from when she says they haven't landed a bar routine yet. They are definitely struggling to keep their feet underneath them in that bar routines. Chest is very far forward.
Aaron Patchy, a junior from Rhinebeck, New York, on vault for Ball State.
And last meet, she actually tied for third with a 9.8 on vault, so this is definitely her strength. Lots of height on that ball.
Small step forward, leads to probably a half-tenth deduction.
Some more scores trickling in. Anna Corbett for Western Michigan, a 9.6 on bars. As we see the replay for Patchy.
Now, Kelly, explain to us what that Yuchenko in is exactly. That round up back handspring onto the table, how difficult is that as compared to just a front handspring on?
A front handspring, your angle has to be about a 40-degree angle when you hit the horse so that you can get the appropriate block, which gives you the amplitude in the air. Now, a Yurchenko, you have to be fast on the board, feet under you, and when you take off, your hands have to dig into the vault so that you can lift yourself up into the air and get the appropriate height that you need to do the vault.
Kayla Weber on bars for Western Michigan.
We're seeing a lot of Western Michigan do that low bar to high bar entry.
Little knee separation.
Weber, a career high on bars. A 9.875, excuse me.
Chest down on the landing.
That seems to be a common thing here with this Western Michigan team.
As Kayla Weber finishes up on bars, we got Miss Denasia Christian on vault for Ball State. Coming up shortly, Charlie Cardinal on your screen.
Now, Christian was actually named the 2014 All-MAC 2014 team, so she's definitely a competitor. I think she's been a big light on this team, Kelly, if you could agree.
I would agree. Denasia's definitely a big powerhouse on this event. She needs to remain calm so that she can land this ball. And she does it. Small step on the ending, but better than falling.
Definitely. And her career high on vault is a 9.85, which is pretty high compared to the other Ball State career highs on vault.
Stumbling seems to be a little bit of a theme so far early for Ball State. How do they correct that?
You can really correct that with practice. I mean, obviously what happens is going to happen, but we really need to focus on those landings. Sticking off the vault and extra practice is what's going to make them successful.
Jessie Peshek getting a roaring applause from the crowd.
And this was my gymnast to watch. Bars isn't necessarily her strong suit, but she is just a strong competitor overall for this Western Michigan team.
Peshek has a strong showing of support from the crowd tonight. She has a poster over her little fan club. Great support for her.
And Peshek's mom is actually the vice president of USA Gymnastics, which, as I understand it, overrules almost all of club gymnastics. And she lands that bar routine. This will be the first gymnast to land a bar routine in 2 consecutive meets.
Peshek getting a nice congratulations from her team. Such precision.
And this is really big for Western Michigan. They have really struggled with dismounts, and it is so good to see her really stick it. And you heard it from her team. They were very excited.
And that is absolutely a stick as we get a little. Juliana Booth now here on vault for Ball State, a sophomore out of Loveland, Ohio.
Now what's important to watch in a layout, or Yurchenko layout, is the hip angle. If the hips are too piked, then they won't even count it as a layout and her start value will be deducted.
And ladies, many people may not know as you get the replay, Yurchenko is usually known and associated with Natalie Yurchenko, a Russian gymnast. However, it was started by a Russian gymnast by the name of Viktor Levinkov. But Yurchenko, Natalie, gets the credit. Juliana Booth getting a nice roar of approval. And now coming up on bars for Western will be Audrey.
And Merritt doesn't quite stick that landing. Again, definitely been a hard point for Western Michigan, but it was nice to see Peshke come out here and stick her landing.
Although Western Michigan hasn't been able to stick their landings very well, their handstands are definitely vertical.
A couple scores trickling in here as we wrap up here. Denasia Christian getting a 9.75, Kayla Weber 9.7 on her bar routine. So a nice start for both of these teams as we are poised to head and finish up.
Now, Western Michigan has planned to have one exhibition person on bars. So that is one person. Exhibition means that her scores won't count towards anything. It's just a chance for her to be in front of judges and get a score and collaborate for where she would fit into the lineup.
As we see second-year head coach Penny Jernigan, some exhibitions. Now, for those folks back at home, these scores will not count. It's a good way for practice, though, for Western and any gymnast in an exhibition spot. Kendall Carlson.
And actually, when we caught up with Coach last week, when we talked about things, she said that they missed a lot of tenths on cast handstands. So it's very interesting that you mentioned that their handstands were good. I think that's something they probably really drilled in practice.
Now for you young gymnasts at home, I want you to pay attention as she swings around the bars. The research varies, but researchers say that as you're swinging around the bars, about 6 to 9 times your body weight is being exerted on your shoulders. A lot of pressure on your shoulders, which leads to several injuries later on.
That's going to lead for a great exhibition score.
So Kendall Carlson, nice exhibition spot.
She has yet to see any action that's counted towards scores, but with that kind of bar routine, we could possibly see her put into the lineup a little later into the season.
I totally agree.
And as we reach the end of rotation 1, we'll take a quick break. We'll step aside for a few moments. You're watching Ball State Gymnastics on SportsLink TV.
What you achieved in the past doesn't give you a right to anything. Honor those before you, whose banners hang from the rafters. Understand the hours, the pain, the sweat, the sacrifice. Are you all in? This is your time. This is your town. This is your team. It's time for Ball State basketball.
Dancing is my passion. I never imagined it could help children with autism, transforming their lives and mine. I've learned I can make an impact that will last a lifetime. I love to dance and was born to teach. Ball State. Education redefined.
More people choose Ford F-Series to help run their lives, run their construction crews, their farms, even run away. And F-150 is the truck that helps you run on all cylinders. That's why Ford F-Series has been America's best-selling truck 38 years running. And with one sold about every 42 seconds, you guessed it, they're running out fast.
Now get into an F-150 with 0% financing for 60 months plus $1,500 trade assist cash or up to $8,250 in total savings.
Welcome back inside Irving Gymnasium as Ball State Gymnastics is taking on Western Michigan. As we reach rotation one, we have some results. Jayla Washington at 9.375. Kayla Beckler at 9.650. Sarah Ebeyer, nice start for her, 9.600. Erin Patchy at 9.625. Denasia Christian at 9.75. And Juliana Booth at 9.425. So a good start for Ball State. What's your analysis at this point?
Well, Jayla Washington had multiple steps out of her
As we
vault.
get the results from Western Michigan, Kelsey Hood on the bar, 9.725. Anna Corbett, a 9.6. Jessica Yunchai, 9.750. Kayla Weber, 9.7. Jessie Peshek, a strong 9.8. And Audrey Merritt following up a 9.65. So a great start for Western Michigan as well.
Peshek actually matches her career high. That career high she got at the last meet versus Illinois, and she's matching it again tonight with a 9.8. Really a solid performance for her. We could almost predict that one happening.
And again, this is the Think Pink meet. All of our fans coming out wearing pink, supporting it for the cause of cancer.
And actually, when I talked to Coach Justin earlier, he wanted me to get this message across. We hope that the Think Pink meet reminds everyone watching to keep up with cancer prevention, keep fighting along with the treatments, and remember the ones who remain as memories. And I think that's really what drives home tonight's meet.
So far I'm finding gymnastics is a small family. You guys are very close-knit. And it's definitely showing today. Penny Jernigan shouting out instructions for her Western squad. Now as we reach rotation two, the two teams will switch. Western will go to the vault, Ball State on bars.
And going back to Coach Jernigan, I think she has to be happy with the scores. I mean, it's definitely better than last meet. It's not where they were last year, but it's getting there. And we're halfway through the season. She still has 4 meets left before MAC play. I think she has to be happy with those scores.
Now, Kelly, you've been on the receiving end of this. Typically at the end of rotation one, has there been any sort of message from Coach Salim heading into the rest of the meet?
Coach Salim, she really focuses on pulling together as a group and staying focused. Vault is over now, so now they have to focus on bars.
And Ball State will certainly have to stick together as Brooklyn Schumacher, as Sean Brightly on your screen with a smile. I was able to sit down with Brooklyn earlier this week. Coming up on Anna Corbett will get the start at vault for Western Michigan. But before that, some more time, touch time, get the teams back in order.
And speaking of Anna Corbett, as she starts here on vault, she had her best vault of the year last meet because her team was really struggling, and she's one of those girls that just brings everyone back up. And so she competed her best vault of the year last meet when 2 of her teammates actually fell on their vaults. Definitely a gymnast we want to keep an eye out for during this entire broadcast.
Something to keep in mind as we get set for Corbett to compete. Career high for her on vault on 9.675, so easily attainable if she wants to reach or pass that.
Definitely. And when we caught up with Coach Justin earlier this week, he kind of talked about bars in the sense that we want everybody to be able to do it. So he wants to put that 9th and 10th person into the bar lineup eventually.
As you see, the vault lineup for Western Michigan, Anna Corbett will lead off, Audrey Merritt in the 2-hole, Brittany Oregon, Kayla Weber 3 and 4, Kelsey Hood with a 5 spot, Jessie Bice will anchor for the Western Michigan Broncos on vault. For Ball State on bars, Katie Ottermans will bat lead off. Number 2, Miranda Kuehl, Gianna Booth will be 3. Angela Durkak 4th in the cleanup role. Brooklyn Schumacher at 5. Kayla Beckler, our gymnast to watch, in the anchor role at 6. Now, Kelly, as we get set for these, anything in particular to pay attention to?
Really just pay attention to leg separations on vault and big steps or hops on vault. That will be the downfall. If they can pull it together and really stick their vaults, then Western Michigan can have a shot at scoring a big score.
Now, just out of curiosity, how difficult is it to complete a vault?
Well, the difficult is definitely up to the gymnast. Gymnastics is, while it is physical, it's also mental.
Anna Corbett's getting ready to go. Hails from Geneva, Illinois, a sophomore from Aerial Gymnastics Academy. Corbett's been working hard to get to where she is today. And I know that her coach, John McPherson, is very proud of her and where she's reached in collegiate athletics. And as Corbett gets set, you see a big sigh of relief, a big breath, getting ready to go. What's going through her mind right now?
Well, as you saw just a moment ago, her teammate went up to her and was distracting her. Distraction is a key thing because you don't want to put too much pressure on the vault. If too much pressure is put on the vault, then you can have a lot of things go wrong. Just like if you're trying to do something too perfect, it's not going to be perfect.
Definitely.
Some fun things about Western Michigan. It was founded in 1903. It was originally a teacher prep school. As Corbett gets set to step on the vault, and we're off with rotation 2.
A very good vault. Small hop on the landing.
And that's exactly what you want in the starting role. A nice, solid routine for Anna Corbett.
You definitely want to get started off on a good foot. It really rallies the rest of the team.
Great liftoff.
Maybe could have blocked a little bit harder off that vault table and avoided that hop.
Coming up on bars is Katie Otterman.
And this is Katie Otterman's only event that she does, so she can really hone in on this and focus on this routine, and it shows throughout the entire routine.
Beautiful handstands.
Now I want the young gymnast at home to pay attention. As she's swinging around, there's actually 2 momentums happening. There's angular as she's rotating around, and then there's linear, as we'll see before she lands, and it's going to determine the direction in which she goes. Just a little physics lesson in how much goes into this.
Good dismount.
So a great start for Katie Otterman. And as I read scores, remember these are unofficial as we get the replay for Katie. We saw Anna Corbett get a 9.725.
Does a really good job of keeping her legs together throughout the entire routine. I think that's a lot of things that gymnasts struggle with going from one bar to the next is those legs tend to come apart, and she does a really great job.
Yeah, when you're swinging around the bar, you want to pretend like glue is in between your legs so that your legs don't separate. But like he was talking about for us earlier, it's a little difficult.
Audrey Merritt's in the second spot, getting set for vault for Western Michigan.
Last week, she only vaulted a 9.0. That was a little bit low for her, and she takes a little bit of a spill. That is the exact same fall that she had last meet at Illinois. It's something that's coming back. Is that a mental game for her?
It can be a mental game, but if you watch this entry, her arms bend a little bit, and she just doesn't have her chest forward. So if her chest is back, she's going to land.
What does that do to a gymnast's psyche? Because I'm curious to know, what does that do to a gymnast's psyche as if you fall?
Well, it takes a toll a little bit because you want to be successful in your routines and your landings. So, I mean, it's a little disappointing.
Miranda Kuehl coming up next for Ball State on the bars.
Last meet, Kuehl had a 9.475. It was a little bit low for her. We'll see if she can raise that just a little bit on these bars.
A little knee bend on that Tkachev. The handstand's a little short. I'm not sure if the judges will count that. Solid landing.
Very solid landing. Despite having a little bit of teeter-tottering on the top of that bar, she really came around and that landing looked really good.
She had to think fast on her feet.
Definitely.
She definitely had to turn herself around because as you see here, she had a little step on that landing that they'll probably take a half a tenth for.
That gets a little bit of a smile from head coach Joanna Salim. That's got to make her feel good. It's coming up, Jesse Yunchai in the third spot. Taking over for Brittany Aragon. Jesse Yunchai in the third spot.
Prepared to do this vault. She was actually just going to be an exhibition, but she had to step in this position. I think that's something that happens often.
It looks like she handled the pressure very well.
How common is it for exhibitions to be moved up? Is that very common?
It is very common, sort of. Like if an injury happens during the meet or the gymnast that was initially in the spot and lineup, she decides that she can't do it for some reason, mental problems or an injury that she's facing, usually an exhibition will be moved up.
As Juliana Booth for Ball State's getting ready to do her bar routine. A sophomore from Loveland, Ohio.
Great handstand. All that's left is the dismount. Perfect landing. Great job for Juliana Booth.
That was a really nice double layout. Now, as I understand it, the double layout doesn't need that combination before. As you can see here, she just really gets height on that, has perfect landing. She seems happy, pleased with herself, and rightfully so.
Kayla Weber for Western Michigan coming up for vault.
Now, Weber in 2014 had 4 top finishes in the MAC conference.
Just a layout, her hips were a little piked, so we'll see what the judges score it as.
Now, would that have a 10-0 start value?
No. A layout, a Yurchenko layout vault only starts from a 9.7.
So she can only, the best score she could get would be a 9.7.
Yes, correct.
feet just a little bit in front of her on that. I think that's why we had to take that huge step back.
So a nice start for Kayla Weber. As Ball State getting ready for their beam. As Angela Durkak a junior out of Yorktown, Virginia.
Now she actually has a sister who is a gymnast at UCLA. Or, my apologies, UNC, University of North Carolina.
We were able to catch up with her earlier this week, and we asked if her sister really pushes her as an athlete, and she said absolutely.
Huge ginger. The judges really like to see amplitude on that ginger. And that skill right there was called a pack full.
Durkak, a career high on bars, 9.825.
A little soft on the landing, but she's able to pull it through.
She had a very unique release move. Did any other gymnasts do that release move?
If you're talking about the ginger, yes. Lots of gymnasts do the ginger release move, but the pack full is something that you need to be paying attention to because there's not a lot of gymnasts that do a pack full. She actually does one full twist while making the change from the high bar to the low bar.
Now we have Kelsey Hood, a freshman for Western Michigan.
And on vault last meet, Hood tied for second with a 9.825.
Hood, a veteran from Olympia Gymnastics Academy.
And I believe that was our very first front handspring on that we've seen yet this meet.
Yeah, her feet were a little bit back on the board. On the board, if you see AAI, her feet are just gonna hit that, but she needs to be right on the springs. That will give her the launch off that she needs. But she did it beautifully.
So Western finishing up on vault. We'll get one more for Ball State, and it's Brooklyn Schumacher on bars. Hails from Norman, Oklahoma. A senior this year. She's one of two healthy seniors on this team. So Ball State as a team banged up, but they're able to get by because of how close and how hard they work.
Brooklyn is a very solid gymnast when it comes to uneven bars. She's really only been competing uneven bars this season, and usually we see big numbers from her.
She's having a little bit of trouble. Let's see if she can pull through.
Now, Kelly, what will that do for her score?
Repetitive skills are not good. The fluidity of the routine suffers just a little bit, and as you can see right now, she's a little tired.
At this moment, what does she choose to do?
She's choosing to keep going, but obviously that has not worked out for her. She should have just gotten down off the bar, recollected herself, and then finished her routine strong.
So Schumacher stepping off the bars to reapply chalk. How much of a deduction will that be, if any?
Well, it's actually not a deduction to reapply chalk. That is actually preferred because the chalk helps you stay on the bar and helps you re-grip the bar. And obviously her endurance is a little bit affected because she is tired because she had to save her routine.
So now will she start at the skill that she came off of the bar at?
She will probably do a cast handstand blind full. Right here, this skill right here, into a double back. A lot of steps out of that. That's going to
She's
suffer.
definitely getting a little worn down towards the end of that routine. Definitely a shaky routine for Brooklyn Schumacher.
And what I was talking about earlier is Ball State needs to focus. Now, if they let this mess up impact the rest of the meet, it'll be very obvious.
here. Schumacher really holds the team together. As we can see, she saves her dismount, but just barely.
Her feet were a little bit forward on the landing, pushing her butt back, causing her to go backwards.
Charlie Cardinal, of course, having a good time here tonight at the Think Pete and Alumni Meet. As Western of Audrey Merritt.
Now she was just a little bit to the right of that vault. She's going to lose a couple tenths for not being straight on, but otherwise, I think that was one of the best vaults we've seen get far from Western Michigan.
I would have to agree.
Correction, Jessie Bice.
If you look on the vault, in her entry, the crookedness can either come off from the table or from the board entry. If you're straight on the board entry, then you'll usually be straight off the vault. If crooked on the board entry, you'll usually be crooked off the vault. Something to look forward or look to on the future vaults.
As we're wrapping up rotation 2, what's your assessment at this point in time?
Well, I think Ball State, we're coming off of a high from vault, a little bit of stumbling on bars. Like I said earlier, they just need to refocus so that they can keep it together, stay together, and finish this competition strong.
Now Beckler tied for 4th last meet with a 9.75. We could really use that kind of score to help get Ball State back in the standings.
Kayla Beckler, the anchor on bars for Ball State.
Looks like the judges are going to have to come together to talk about Brooklyn's bar routine so that they can evaluate the score.
Now, is this something that you see often? I mean, do judges usually come together to congregate about the score?
They usually come together when a gymnast messes up bad, or they just have completely different scorings. One judge can go 9.6, one judge can go 9.4. If they do that, they usually come together and talk about the deductions that they have taken from the routine so that they can collaborate and come to a concise score.
Some scores coming in for Western Michigan. Jessie Bice, an unofficial 9.7. Kelsey Hood, a 9.7. Angela Jerkak for Ball State, a 9.725. Kayla Weber, 9.4 for Western Michigan to get you caught up, as the judges seem to have some issues with scoring. We caught up with Joanna Salim earlier this week, and she said every meet is a practice and every practice is a practice to get ready for later on in the season, for the MAC championships. Good test for Ball State early on so far against Western Michigan.
And you know, when we were in practice just later this week, we sat down and we watched Schumacher, and she did a really good job. I think maybe the environment just got to her a little bit, but definitely not what she's been doing this whole season up until now.
I would have to agree. Usually the pressure doesn't affect her. You saw before she started her routine, she was dancing to Thrift Shop. She picked for her bar song that she can distract her from. She dances before her routine so that she can bring a little bit of lightheartedness to the arena and take off some of that pressure that you see most gymnasts put on themselves as they compete.
As the judges seem to have figured out their issue, Kayla Beckler again stepping up for bars for Ball State. Beckler is Cincinnati, Ohio native. Not too far from Ball State. Couple-hour drive, not too bad.
Now, Beckler's career high on uneven bars is only a 9.17. Good handstand position.
Big release.
Beckler off to a strong start. And finish.
Beautiful dismount, stuck the landing.
I think coming off of Schumacher's routine, this is what the team needs to rally back, moving into the beam and floor rotations.
And moving into beam, they need to keep that momentum going into beam so that they don't dwell on the past mistakes.
So So Beckler with a strong anchor. That'll do it for Ball State on bars. As we're through 2 rotations. But beforehand, Jackie Duffy, an exhibition. Some scores trickling in. Brooklyn Schumacher, an unofficial 8.05, not her best.
When we talked to Coach Justin about bars earlier this week, he said that it's potential that they're going to work on harder skills, but they're just not going to put them in until they get into MAC conference play. So we're just going to see these same routines practiced and perfected until we get to MAC.
Jackie, a freshman from Massillon, Ohio. As she gets set for bars, hails from the Perfection Gymnastics Academy.
Toes are a little bit apart.
A little leg separation on that handstand.
Seems to have the same problem that Brooklyn had.
I mentioned earlier on vault where you're chasing perfection. If you put too much pressure on those handstands and try to get those handstands, you'll end up overdoing it. And as you see in Brooklyn's routine and in Jackie Duffy's routine, they both cast it over.
As Duffy stuffing up, some scores trickling in. Kayla Beckler, a 9.775 unofficial.
I think for Beckler, that 9.775 is really a good score for her. I think she's going to be happy with that.
Let's see what Jackie can do as she finishes this routine.
So she's going to go ahead on up to the high bar and finish where she started.
Line full into a double back. Acceptable landing.
So a good finish for Duffy. And that will do it for rotation 2. As you see on the replay for Duffy.
A little crooked on that come down.
Feet just a little bit apart and a tiny step. Now Duffy's scores have yet to actually count towards the team. She's only exhibition, but she's been training hard.
Coming up after this, we'll step aside for a few messages. You're watching Ball State Gymnastics on SportsLink TV.
We created a counseling program to help those living with HIV. I found my calling by tackling a global issue in my local community. It paved the way to Columbia University to study with Ivy League scholars. Ball State, education redefined.
As we're back here live in Irving Gymnasium, Ball State Gymnastics against the Western Michigan Broncos. Just finishing up rotation 2 as we'll get some scores for you. Welcome inside to our broadcast. Ball State just completing the bars, and as you see here, Katie Honorman, a 9.650, a strong start. Miranda Kuehl, 9.650. Juliana Booth, a 9.6. Angela Durkak, a strong 9.7. Brooklyn Schumacher, not the best, 8.050. Kayla Beckler, good finish, 9.775. For Western Michigan, Anna Corbett started things off, 9.725. Audrey Merritt, a 9.075. Jessica Yunchai, after getting moved up from the exhibition spot in place of Brittany Aragon, a 9.475. Kayla Weber, 9.400. Kelsey Hood, a 9.700. Jessie Bice in the ankle roll, a 9.7 to round things off for Western Michigan.
And while you look at these scores, remember that the lowest score is actually dropped when counted towards the team score. So that means in this case, Merritt's score is going to be dropped.
As we see the scores here, we're going to take a quick break. I play for you, Sam Santos. You're watching Ball State Gymnastics on SportsLink TV.
As a gymnast, I perform. I endure physical training and practice, all to push for one goal: a perfect score. But I have to have strength, flexibility, agility, and balance. It only takes one mistake. One mistake to tarnish my goal. Deductions are my enemy, not my opponents. I'm Samantha Santos, and I play for you.
Sam Santos, a tough competitor.
Now, she is out with an Achilles tear. Earlier this year against Florida in warm-ups, she actually had a little bit of an accident and actually injured her Achilles. It's too bad she's a senior, but I'm sure, Kelly, you can speak to that.
A tough blow for Ball State, of course.
Yeah, Achilles ruptures are very common in gymnastics and sometimes very detrimental to people's careers, especially being a senior. I'm sure she wasn't planning on having her career unexpectedly ended so soon.
The Ball State Student Athletic Advisory Committee and Ball State Sports Link present the Chirpies, Ball State's first Student Athlete Awards show, live from Evans Auditorium, April 13th. You won't want to miss that. It'll be very fun and always good to be in Evans Auditorium.
And I know our student team has worked very hard to put it together. I'm excited.
As we get set for rotation 3, it will be Western Michigan on the floor. Ball State will head over to the beam.
Now, as we talked to Coach earlier this week, they talked about beam being a very strong event. The beam teams really stepped up and got the points where maybe other apparatuses have lacked a little bit.
Absolutely.
In previous years, beam has really been a hit or miss, but I feel like this year, like you said, the beam team has really pulled it together, and if they can do that tonight, it could be a very good.
As we get our floor lineup here for Western Michigan, Jessie Petchik will start things off. Anna Corbett in the second spot. Jessica Yunchai, 3. Audrey Merritt. Kelsey Hood and Kayla Weber will finish things off for Western on the floor. And that seems to be one of their stronger events. As Ball State for their beam, you get Miranda Culo, good start for her, 1. Bailey Bell, 2nd. Sarah Ebeyer, 3. Denasia Christian, 4. Kayla Beckler, a gymnast to watch for Ball State, 5. Jessica Lecco to finish things off on beam for Ball State.
Now, in order of skill, where do you set your beam lineup or your floor lineup? Do you want your strongest person first or your strongest person last?
The first person usually is the girl who's going to start the pace. Scores usually go up from the first person, so you want your best person last so that they score the highest score.
The anchor of the routine. As we get set for rotation 3 here inside Irving Gymnasium. Ball State Western Michigan Gymnastics on SportsLink TV. Thank you for watching. As we'll get set.
For all of those watching who just tuned in, it is Think Pink Night. That is why they're wearing the pink bows, and you may see a couple other pink things in our stands today.
Always a great cause. Great crowd tonight for Ball State Gymnastics. Always a good home crowd.
And Ball State really feeds off of their crowd. When we talked to Coach earlier, that's what he said is Gymnastics Stadium here at Ball State is so much different than other stadiums you might go to at a different college.
The crowd definitely has an influence on how the judges are going to score. If the judges get wrapped up in the crowd or the team's excitement or exclamation point, as you put it earlier, then their scores can be highly influenced.
And I think when it comes to gymnastics, it's all about performing. It's all about showing off the skills that you have, and what better than in front of 1,000+ people.
As we see some presumably young gymnasts maybe getting a potential look at their college career. Miranda Kuehl getting ready and set for the beam for Ball State. A sophomore from Woodward, Iowa.
Last meet on beam, Kuehl scored a 9.775.
Hopefully be able to repeat that performance. Now for those watching at home, the beam itself is 4 inches wide. You can imagine how difficult that is.
Lands that first pass pretty confidently.
She looks confident.
Now, if you notice throughout the Ball State routines, you'll see them do the chirp sign, and the team will reply with chirp chirp as a little confidence booster as they finish their routines.
Ball State, of course, a very close team. Feed off each other's energy. Good start from Miranda Kuehl early on.
Here's that chirp sign we talked about.
For her dismount. Very solid start for Kuehl.
Well, the smile says it all. As we get on the replay from Miranda Kuehl.
Feet might have come apart just a little bit on that, but really completed the full twist.
So a good start for Kuehl for Ball State on beam. Again, we're in the third rotation. Western switching over to floor now. Starting things off, Jessie Peshek.
And as we mentioned before, Peshek's mom is involved in gymnastics, but so is her sister. Her sister actually is a gymnast at UCLA and was on the team with the U.S. Olympic team in 2006 when they won silver.
Not to mention that she went to grade school with our very own Erin Hepp, St. Simon the Apostle, back in the day. Now, Kelly, what would you say is the strongest component or the most important aspect of the floor routine?
The most important aspect of a floor routine is definitely your presence. If you can perform well, stick your landings with 1 step or less, then that will really influence the judges' scores.
The floor, of course, all about performance.
On the floor, the gymnasts are allowed 1 step forward if it is a forward tumbling pass and 1 step backward if it is a backward tumbling pass.
Maybe just a little bit short on that jump sequence.
Nice land for Peshek. Good start for Western Michigan on the floor. Peshek has get a nice round of applause from her little fan club up in the stands. Peshek, good start for her.
A lot of power from her. She gets a lot of height on these turns and is able to get them all the way around. A lot of times we see gymnasts not using the springs on the floors and not getting all the way around, losing tenths, but that was a really good job by her.
So a good start for Peshek, which will bring us to Miss Bailey Bell for Ball State. Bell, a freshman from Noblesville, Indiana, not too far from Ball State.
Now, something interesting about Miss Bailey Bell is that she said one day in practice that she only falls when she thinks she's getting sick.
Very nice.
Well, hopefully she's not sick.
Perfect
Doesn't look
landing.
very sick.
And for those that are curious, if you're going from end to end on the beam, that's like going from the baseline to center court of a basketball court while never changing direction laterally. And that's the width of the sideline. That's how difficult the beam event is. And a good dismount from Bell.
Now, last meet, Bell got a 9.775. We'll see if she can get that same score here tonight.
Deep breath. And the landing. With a smile. So a good start for Bell. Joking around with her teammates. Some scores trickling in here. Miranda Kuhl on 9.7 on that, her unofficial on her beam routine. Peshek at 9.65 as you see Anna Corbett. Now Corbett's had an interesting career. At one point, her senior year of high school in February, a torn labrum for Corbett. So as you can imagine, a tough road back. But showing no signs of slowing down.
Definitely not. And a torn labrum is really hard for a gymnast. I feel like a lot of things come down on shoulders. But as far as floor goes, it's a lot more knees. Would you agree with me, Kelly?
Knees and ankles. Usually you can see in this girl's routine, her shin is taped. Usually injuries like that come from short landings on their tumbling passes. Besides from steps on their tumbling passes, another thing to watch on floor are their feet position in their jump sequences. If they're just a little bit off, the judges can take whatever they want.
And on that note, Corbett, interesting, Don McPherson, her coach, again, coached not only Anna, but her mother as well. So gymnastics is a vital part of their family. So a good finish from Corbett. Back on beam, an unofficial 9.775 for Bailey Bell. For Ball State, Miss Sarah Ebeyer on beam for Ball State. Now this meet has particular interest for her in a special way. Her mother and her aunt are both survivors of cancer, and they are in attendance tonight. So you can just imagine how special of a moment that is for Sarah Ebeyer.
Now, last meet she tied for third with a 9.825. Ebeyer is really a performer. She gets up there and you can see the confidence that she just pours.
Pointed toes and all.
Small bobble on the landing, but she able to pull it together.
One thing that amazes me about gymnasts on bars is that even with a little shake, their face doesn't show it. Their confidence isn't shaken. Can guarantee you if I was up in that bar, be a different story.
gainer off the side.
So a smile and a round of applause for Sarah Ebeyer, her teammates crush her. As you see the dismount on the replay.
This is a gainer off of the side of the beam. She does a full twisting dismount.
Now Sarah struggled in the past with that dismount, not getting enough amplitude in the air and her twist coming up a little short, causing her chest to be forward to take that step. Now this dismount shows no signs of that, so she pulled it together very well.
Jessica Yunchai, a freshman from Shelby, Minnesota. This Ball State Sports Link student production is brought to you by your East Central Indiana Ford dealers. Ford is proud to support Ball State student athletes and the students of Ball State Sports Link. Yunchai, prior to her tenure at Western Michigan, spent 10 years at the Olympia Academy.
A lot of height on that double pike. Now, last meet, Yunchai came up a little bit short on floor. She fell on one of her skills and only got a 9.0.
Something to watch for as we see her finish up her routine. Again, I stress the performance aspect of the floor. That's critical. The judges paying attention closely to that.
Beautiful ending. You would have no idea that that skill was a fall for her last meet.
So a great ending for Yunchai. Smile and all, team.
Obviously very excited to have completed that routine. I think she'll definitely surpass that score of a 9.0.
As you see in the replay for Yunchai.
Now that skill is actually a front handspring Rudy. A Rudy is a 1.5 twist going forwards.
A skill I imagine very difficult. As we have some more scores trickling in here. Again, everything is unofficial. As Denasia Christian gets set for her beam routine. Sarah Ebeyer a 9.65 on her past routine.
Now Christian tied Ebeyer last meet for third place with a 9.825. And her first pass here.
Good start.
A small bobble, but she was able to pull it together. Now a problem spot for Denasia would be this next part coming up here. She does a flick flack front tuck on the beam. Let's see if she can do it.
Nailed it.
Definitely never would have known that was a problem. We actually watched her in practice struggle with that as well, but when she's performing, she's on.
Here comes that chirp chirp sign.
And the team definitely responding.
Beautiful dismount.
So a good ending for Christian.
Despite those two bobbles, I think she's really going to lead the team here on beam.
So far, so good. Some unofficial scores as you see Christian here on the replay.
And that front tuck that we were talking about, just perfect.
Now those bobbles on her jump passes were a little uncharacteristic for Christian. We'll definitely see that reflected in her scores.
Jessica Yunchai in that pass floor routine on 9.775. Audrey Mara takes her turn on the floor, a sophomore.
And this is her event. She led the team last meet with a 9.8. This is where she shines.
She hails from Sherwood, Wisconsin. She also won the Western Michigan Newcomer of the Year in 2014.
Chest was a little forward on that double pike.
Now, something to keep in mind as we watch, her career high is a 9.850 last attained at Kent State January 24th of last year.
As we watch floor, you can definitely the different gymnast personalities in the floor routine.
So Merritt finishes things off.
A very unique routine from her. I can definitely see why this is her event to capitalize on.
Definitely a good sign for Merritt, as you see on the replay.
Huge height on that front pass coming in. She doesn't get any prep into that. There's no round off our front handspring coming into that. It's simply a punch off the ground. Kelly, how does that compare to a different forward flipping?
Well, it really just depends on the gymnast. Some gymnasts, they can't execute a front handspring into their front pass well enough to do that, so that they just opt out for the pot.
Kayla Beckler, now for her turn on beam.
Last meet, she tied for first with a 9.85.
Her career here, 9.825. Able to regain her balance.
In practice, we saw her struggle with that pass. She continuously kept falling off, but that was really good.
Able to readjust.
She really needs to calm down so that she can finish her rest of her routine.
Now, is your mind flying a million miles an hour at this moment?
Sometimes. Usually you think about what you just messed up on. I would say a gymnast's biggest downfall is their own self-criticalness.
I guarantee you, if I was up on that beam, I'd be going well over a million miles an hour. So a nice finish from Beckler. The team over to give her a nice round of applause.
This is the skill that she had a little bit of trouble in practice, but she does a good job of saving it, really squeezing those toes, staying on that beam.
Some more scores trickling in here. Unofficial 9.7 for Audrey Merritt. As we have Kelsey Hood standing by from Macomb, Michigan.
Kelsey got a 9.825 last meet, following Merritt to bring the team back.
I was able to catch up with some of her coaches earlier this week. And they were talking about how hard she works and how hard and how long she had to improve. She wasn't great at one skill early on, but able to work through that. And now a big piece for Western Michigan.
She's definitely stepped up and filled the all-around role when she's been needed.
Just a little bobble on that front pass. Her feet were in front of her, causing her not to be able to finish that skill appropriately.
Now, from a timing standpoint, how long does it take to develop a routine?
A routine is developed fairly quickly, actually. The dance portion takes up to about 3 hours to get down. Choreography is definitely an important part in that.
Just a little short on that layout step out at the end. Definitely going to factor into her overall score.
So Hood able to finish up on floor.
Again, goes for that layout step out, probably a little too low, but gets that leg around there and barely saves it.
Able to get it done. Some scores trickling in. Unofficial for Caleb Beckler, 9.45 on beam. Jessica Lecco, a senior. One of two healthy, in addition to Brooklyn Schumacher, takes her turn on beam.
Now she tied for first last week with a 9.85.
This is definitely Jessie's shining moment here is the balance beam. Beautiful.
Very solid.
One thing that I admire about Jessie's routine is that she captures you. You don't want to take your eyes off of her, and that's what the judges seem like. Sometimes they even forget to write down the deductions watching her because she's so beautiful up there.
And how focused she is.
Now, Lecco is actually a transfer from Boise State. She went there her freshman year and then transferred into Ball State, so.
Able to get a little bit of a different flavor from the temperatures of Boise over to Muncie.
A little smirk because she knows that she has this routine. All that's left is the dismount.
Her confidence is high.
And a gainer.
Beautiful. She sticks the landing.
And that's the reason why confidence is so high. Jessica Lecco on being great finish.
We see her back handspring step out, layout step out.
Again, you see that little smirk. She just knows that she's gotten this routine down. This is definitely her event.
Lecco, the shining star on beam. As we got some more unofficial scores for you, Kelsey Hood on the floor, 9.6 unofficial. Kayla Weber take her spot for Western on the floor. Career high 9.850 at the MAC Championships.
Oop, she might have stepped out of bounds. I'm not sure if the judges saw it.
Now, one thing about Weber is she is very close friends with Jessica Yunchai and Kelsey Hood, as they hailed from the same gym. And I was able to catch up with their coach, Lori Cook, and except for all of them, they're great leaders. It's all about team spirit. And at one point, a couple weeks ago, the gym was having a meet, and the three girls FaceTimed into their pre-huddle to get them psyched up.
And I do believe that they will be watching this broadcast tonight.
I am under the impression that they are watching tonight, so ladies, thank you for tuning in.
Maybe just a little bit short on that wolf full.
But a beautiful routine altogether.
Great way to finish for Kayla Weber, as we'll have a few exhibitions coming your way.
Definitely lots of height, toes a little bit flexed. And I definitely do think that that was a step out on the side. Not a full foot, but at least the foot was touching the white line. What kind of deduction is that, Kelly?
They can get up to a half-tenth deduction for a step out of bounds, but actually, if your foot is on the white line, that counts as in. So I don't think the judges took it much off for it.
So as we get Jayla Washington in exhibition, her score will not count. But good experience for the young Washington.
She's young, there's lots of potential here. When we saw her earlier in practice, she was working on this pass that she's about to do. A little concerned about it, but by the end of practice, she had it down.
She missed her foot and just went straight off the side of the beam. A little disappointing, but let's see if she can pull it together to finish strong.
How do you collect yourself after falling off from the beam?
Usually a gymnast will take up to 30 seconds to just breathe and recollect herself before she mounts the beam.
Washington able to get right back up.
And that was the pass that she was having difficulties in practice.
So something to work on in the coming weeks. Good finish for Washington despite falling off.
You can see a little bit of disappointment, but duly noted.
She knows what she has to work on in practice in the coming weeks.
And I think that's what's great about exhibition is you get the chance to be in front of the crowd. Again, misses her hand on that back handspring, but she gets right back on and she finished the routine great. A good stick at the end.
Again, the beam is just so tough. 4 inches across, no room for error. As you see Joanna Salim providing some counsel to the young Washington. Also in your picture, Justin Wolford, assistant coach.
Last meet, beam was Ball State's best event. Coming into the floor exercise, they really need to capitalize on every little tenth because they have lost a couple tenths on the bar exercise and beam didn't really make up for it.
After this, we'll take a quick break. You're watching Ball State Gymnastics on SportsLink TV.
More people choose Ford F-Series to help run their lives, run their construction crews, their farms, even run away. And F-150 is the truck that helps you run on all cylinders. That's why Ford F-Series has been America's best-selling truck 38 years running. And with one sold about every 42 seconds, you guessed it, they're running out fast.
Now get into an F-150 with 0% financing for 60 months plus $1,500 trade assist cash or up to $8,250 in total savings.
Welcome to a world where new is not as new. The parallel universe.
Sweetie, didn't we watch this movie last week?
Not much choice with AT&T U-verse, Dave.
Sir, Xfinity On Demand has way more movie choices.
Nothing wrong with a little repetition, Dave.
Yeah, nothing wrong with a little repetition, Dave.
Yeah, nothing wrong with a little repetition, Dave.
Don't get trapped in the U-verse. Get 3 times more movies with Xfinity On Demand from Comcast.
Welcome back inside Irving Gymnasium as Ball State Western Michigan just finished up their 3rd rotation. We have some results. Miranda Kuehl started things off on beam for Ball State, 9.700. Bailey Bell followed suit up strong, 9.775. Sarah Ebeyer, 9.650. Denasia Christian, a 9.650. Kayla Beckler, our gymnast to watch for Ball State, a 9.450. And a strong anchor finish for Jessica Lecco, the senior, a 9.800.
And Lecco stepped up, and she really deserved that score. You knew during the routine that she was going to get in those high scores.
On the other side for Western Michigan on the floor, Jessie Peshek, a 9.650 to start things off. Anna Corbett, a 9.725. Jessica Yunchai, a 9.775. In third spot, Audrey Merritt, 9.700, batting cleanup. Kelsey Hood, a 9.6, and Kayla Weber to finish things off, a 9.750.
Honestly, those are not the scores that Western Michigan has been putting up all season. Those are quite on the low side. They've been averaging about a 9.8 on floor as a whole team, so these seem a little bit low. I think it really gives Ball State a chance to capitalize on their floor routines. and get above Western Michigan.
So as you see, our total scores here very close. A 1.45 for Ball State. Western Michigan had a 145.225. As we're about to head into rotation 4.
Scores are definitely tight, but when it comes to gymnastics, it's about every 10th. So despite the score of Ball State in the lead right now, it could change in just one routine.
And ladies, I want to go back to a story that we've been talking about throughout the broadcast. Western Michigan's Anna Corbett. Again, she was injured in February 2013 for a torn labrum, and that recovery took about 2 years. But then she returned to be an all-around co-champion at University of Illinois Chicago back on February 8th. So just a great story of recovery for Anna Corbett.
And again, talking about a torn labrum, I think that plays a lot into gymnastics, and I'm sure you could speak to this, Kelly, but you need your shoulders when it comes to gymnastics.
Most definitely, especially on bars. You're planching, you're supporting yourself, and that's really important to be able to swing around the bar in such
I've mentioned this before as well. Don McPherson, her past coach, he just said she's a great kid and a hard worker as well. So Anna Corbett able to do some great things despite injuries.
And she'll actually start us off on beam, but she tied for second last meet with a 9.75.
And as a reminder, you are watching Ball State Gymnastics, the Think Pink meet and alumni, as many spectators are supporting cancer. Great turnout as always for the Ball State home crowd.
Charlie Cardinal getting things a little pumped up in here. As we get towards the end of the meet, crowd gets a little dead, but Charlie's handling it.
And one thing you notice about Ball State Gymnastics meets is you see a lot of younger crowds. Those gymnasts really strive to be college gymnasts, so we really try to think on the Ball State team to really
We're going to step aside real fast. We got a quick story for you on Angela Durkak. You won't want to miss this. We'll be back after this.
I've learned a lot about a team aspect and working with other people through gymnastics and having other people there for me, and a lot of leadership skills, I'd say, that are going to help me in the long run. Before you compete, you definitely get a shaky feeling. You're in front of an audience, you're in front of your teammates, they're counting on you, your score's going to count. The nerves are definitely get you amped up, they'll get you excited, and it's just channeling that excitement into the right things and to making those skills good. On bars, I would definitely say Brooklyn Schumacher. We've always competed together, like right one after the other, or vice versa, since freshman year, and we just know how each other work on bars, so we're really good at like helping each other out.
We joke around a lot in the same way. We joke around about being the only two redheads on the team, and so we always tell our coaches that they need to recruit more.
We have done the work already, and that we are totally prepared, and that from this point on it's just going out there and having fun and doing what you already know how to do just in front of people who are going to love it.
So a story you will not want to miss on Angela Durkak, a junior here at Ball State. This will be through SportsLink. Come out later this month on her involvement at an animal shelter and how to be a good gymnastics teammate. A great story from Angela. You won't want to miss that as we will head into rotation 4. And again, Ball State and Western having a good meet so far for both sides.
Corbett looking very solid starting off.
So some good warm-up routines for her.
A little bobble there. Sticks the landing.
A good routine overall despite that little bobble in the jump sequence. Really a solid routine coming from Corbett starting off the team.
So Corbett able to, nice finish routine as you see Penny Jernigan giving her a nice vote of confidence, taking her by the arm as coaches do. Floor lineup for Ball State. Brooke Evans will start things off. Shelby Arms will start second. Caleb Beckler third. Sarah Ebeyer in the cleanup spot fourth. Erin Patchy. And to finish things off, Denasia Christian for Ball State on floor. Now this is typically their strongest event as a team. As I was talking with them earlier today, it's towards the end, it's the end of the meet, and they feel very strongly and confidently about their abilities on the floor.
Brooke Evans really gets to hone in on the floor event because that's the only thing she's been competing at this season. Last meet, she got a 9.625.
We talked about presentation earlier. Ball State definitely holds a great deal of presentation on the floor. They look like they're having fun, and they have big smiles on their faces, and they just capture you.
Ball State, of course, right there to support her, having the fun with her. Evans looks confident.
Definitely a chance to perform.
A little bit of a step from her, but
that pass seemed just a little bit low towards the end. I think she might be wearing out towards the end of the routine, but I did notice that there was that big step on that one.
So a good start for Brooke Evans.
Great routine to lead off the Ball State Cardinals.
And that's what they need. So Evans able to do her job leading things off for Ball State. Gets a nice hug from a teammate. Coming up on beam, Anna Corbett will start things off. Kelsey Hood second. Jessica Yunchai in the third spot. Brittany Aragon in the fourth cleanup. Jessie Peshek, of course, at 5. Kayla Weber at 6. So a strong lineup for Western as we're finishing, getting going in the fourth rotation.
Now last week, Hood actually did take a topple off of the beam. We'll see if she can keep her feet planted tonight. This pass right here. Definitely regained confidence. She looked really good compared to last week.
Small bobble on that side aerial, but she was able to accomplish it, stay on the beam.
Some unofficial scores trickling in here. Brooke Evans, you just saw on the floor, a 9.65. Again, unofficial, 9.65. Corbett able to finish things off nicely.
That dismount was a back handspring step out with a 1.5 twist. Beautifully stuck here.
I think she's the first person we've seen yet tonight do a back handspring entry into that dismount.
And a good way to finish things off. As Shelby Arms will take her turn on the floor. A sophomore from Jeffersonville, Indiana.
Now, Arms typically competes on more than just floor, but she's had a shoulder bothering her recently and is choosing just to do floor tonight.
We'll have to monitor how her shoulder holds up throughout the routine. So far, showing no signs of discomfort.
Two and a half punch front. Beautiful.
Arms, a native from the Southern Indiana Gymnastics School, as she did her early gymnastics prior to coming to Ball State. Good career from her.
In high school, she was the state floor champion just as a freshman. Lots of potential still to come from her.
A little mishap on that.
But a good finish nonetheless from Shelby Arms. So Arms trots off. Good score from her again, an unofficial score from prior. Brooke Evans, a 9.65, you saw first.
That last pass was a little disappointing. She usually does a front handspring with a 1.5 twist, but she bailed out halfway, I think due to a stumble in her front handspring.
Charlie Cardinal getting in on the action, saying hello to the kids in the stands. Always a fan favorite, one of mine. As Jessica Yunchai takes her spot, the freshman.
Of the 3 people to hit beam routines last week for Western Michigan, Yunchai was one of them.
She looks very confident going into this event as a freshman.
Now, an interesting tidbit on Yunchai, she's actually roommates with Kelsey Hood, her teammate at Western. They have the same major and the same classes together. Not to mention their teammates on the gymnastics team. That's so much time together. And her coach texted them not too long ago, just asking, hey, are you guys still friends? And they said, absolutely.
A good routine from Yunchai. Almost the same as she performed last time. She really is just solid on the beam. You don't see much differentials from her.
SportsLink Radio on WCRD is your home for a news show every Thursday. Inside the Nest with Corey Stace and Matt Craig is everything SportsLink, with feature stories, interviews, plus debating the hottest topics in sports. Listen Thursdays at 7 p.m. WCRD and streaming for free online and available everywhere with the TuneIn mobile app. I was able to make my Inside the Nest debut last night. So Mr. Stace, Craig, thank you for having me on. We were talking and previewing the gymnastics meet tonight. Great stuff from the freshmen as they're growing throughout our program, Stace and Craig. As we get set, Caleb Beckler for Flora and Ball State.
Last meet, Beckler got a 9.1 on floor.
So we've seen a lot of Beckler tonight. What have you liked from her so far, Kelly?
Well, Beckler's always an interesting gymnast to watch. She knows how to do her gymnastics, and she's beautiful doing it. Her beam is definitely her strong point, although tonight she had a couple of bobbles. Floor is definitely some place where she can definitely regain some of that.
An unofficial score for Shelby Arms of 9.4.
Opening up with a stuck double back. Now there's one point coming up here that always makes the crowd cringe. Right there it is, lands in a full split.
That amazes me. Never ask me to do that, ever. It won't end well. I mean, there's so much to respect gymnasts for. Their strength, their mental toughness. But for me personally, it's their flexibility. So a nice finish from Beckler. She gets a high five from her coach, Joanna Salim. Good start and finish for her. Unofficial score right here for Western Michigan, Jessica Yunchai, 9.775. Brittany Aragon will take her turn on the beam. She hails from the Twistars USA Gymnastics Club.
If Yunchai's score actually is a 9.775, that's going to make her career high.
Well, here's what's interesting about Aragon is her coach at the Twistars Academy, John Gadurt. He's a 2012 Olympic coach who, by the way, coached somebody by the name of Jordan Weber.
Definitely a big name in gymnastics.
Couple bobbles as she goes into that leap series. I'm not sure if they'll give her a connection. She might have to think on her feet so that she gets that start value.
Just couldn't stay on that. She's looked a little unconfident in this entire routine. She's gonna have to shake it off and finish strong.
There is some concern as to her availability coming into today. Aragon, earlier in the broadcast, moved off of an event. An exhibition took her spot. So Aragon struggling here so far. Again, another unofficial score for Kayla Beckler on the floor for Ball State, a 9.8. Strong showing for Beckler.
And a gainer off the side.
She almost stuck that dismount, but she took that small step before she saluted the judge.
So perhaps a tough routine for Aragon. But able to finish things out.
Aragon kind of comes in when she's needed. She didn't compete last meet, but the meet before she did and got a 9.75 on beam, so it's a little surprising to see this kind of performance out of her.
Sarah Ebeyer looks ready to go for Ball State, getting into the mood of the music. John Legend playing here, All of Me.
Now Ebeyer was 4th last meet with a 9.8. That's incredible that she placed 4th with such a high score.
Ebeyer career high for her is a 9.825, something to pay attention to.
This routine is definitely one of my favorite routines. Her presentation is just so great. She's definitely a dancer. Opening up with a beautiful double pike.
You can see it on her face. She's having fun. She knows that she's rocking this.
A beautiful leap and jump sequence from her. We really haven't seen someone hit that so solidly, but she did an amazing job. Great height on that layout step out at the end.
There she is, just working it.
Definitely seeing personality come out in this one.
Without a doubt.
Truly an amazing routine.
That routine was fun to watch.
You see her mom in the stands in the pink right there.
Very proud.
What better meet to do amazing on than this one right here? Again, mom and aunt breast cancer survivors.
So a great showing.
Really excitement from her dad.
Getting it on the iPad.
A little smirk from her mom. She knows that she's gotten that score.
So Western Michigan, obviously coming from Kalamazoo, as Jesse Peshek steps up. Kalamazoo itself is very interesting. At one point, it was known for their contributions to the produce world. It was once known as the Celery City, believe it or not. So some fun facts about Kalamazoo.
Now Peshek won beam last meet with a 9.8.
As a reminder, Peshek is our Western Michigan gymnast to watch tonight.
Wow, very uncharacteristic of her. She has not fallen yet this season. This will be the first time. You can tell in her face, she's just a little upset.
Unofficially coming in for Ball State, Sarah Ebeyer finished that floor routine with a 9.8. Just shy of her career high.
A round off double full dismount. Small hop in the landing.
You can tell she's a little frustrated with herself. You can see it on her face.
She's definitely frustrated. Again, very uncharacteristic of her. She usually is the one that pulls the team together on beam.
Erin Patchy getting set for her floor routine. Hails from Rhinebeck, New York. Something to keep in mind as she finishes her floor routine. Career high for her, a 9.850. Starting off with Rage Against the Machine, I like it.
Now she tied for second last meet with a 9.825.
Opening up with a flawless double pike.
Guys, we've been watching amazing gymnastics all night, and we have to acknowledge just how close these final scores are going to be. It's going to come down to the last routine. Who is going to make that last mistake? That's what it might come down to.
In gymnastics, it's really every 10th. It could be a flex foot versus a pointed toe. It really comes that close. And with these two teams, they've each had one event that they've struggled on and one event that they've succeeded on. And it really, truly is going to come down to tenths.
Ball State, of course, coming into this, struggling with the win and loss column, 0-6, but a great chance to grab their first win at home. And Salim, of course, said, don't pay attention to that record. Our individual scores are strong. We're building a good program, and we're seeing why. That's on display tonight.
Very close to that line, but she was able to pull it through.
I believe she knew she was pretty close. She curled up her toes just so she wouldn't touch it.
So Patchy continues her strong night for Ball State.
Ball State has definitely been able to carry that momentum from each event. They haven't let their past mistakes affect them.
A little grimace as she walked off the screen, not sure what that pertains to, but something to keep an eye on throughout the rest of the night.
And at this point in the season, I think the most important thing is keeping the girls that you have competing healthy. You're halfway through. As you start to go against MAC teams, you got to keep the girls that you have competing healthy.
Kayla Weber, the anchor for Western Michigan on beam.
Weber's career high on beam is a 9.875.
And I might add, that was last achieved against Ball State.
Absolutely.
It's very rare that you see a smile on beam.
I'd imagine. There'd be anything but a smile if I were on beam. Some unofficial scores coming in here. Erin Patchy, you just saw it for Ball State on floor, a 9.875. So for Patchy, phenomenal for her. That is her career high, new career high for Erin Patchy. Congratulations to her.
Again, a lot of smiles coming from her on beam. She seems to be enjoying herself up there.
And not only is she enjoying it, but the crowd is. Everybody that's in this gymnasium is just having fun. Watching just some phenomenal gymnastics and some of the greatest athletes in college.
I can definitely see why she anchors for the team. A solid routine, lots of confidence. That wraps it up for Western Michigan.
As you see, Miss Denasia Christian. Christian getting loose. Ball State looking poised. Ball State needs a strong routine from Christian.
This is it for Ball State.
Definitely some flair from Christian early on. You can see there's an attitude to her.
Earlier this year, Christian was actually named the Mid-American Conference Specialist of the Week, and rightfully so. She's just a ball of energy.
Now, that right there is called a full in.
A roar of approval from the crowd.
That opening pass would be the highest level of difficulty seen at this competition thus far. It is one full twist with 2 flips. Very impressive.
And seems to have no troubles with it. Now Christian's career record floor score. Listen to this, it is a 9.95. It ties the Ball State total records in all of gymnastics history here at Ball State.
So definitely some good company for Christian.
Absolutely.
As Rashina smile, she knows it's her time.
Oh, little stumble. That will be a fall for Denasia Christian.
What a great routine. So that will finish things up for Ball State for Christian.
Again, incredible height on that. She just rebounds off that floor and uses all of the power.
A little disappointment there. She stumbles to the ground. It could make it or break it for Ball State on their final score.
It truly could.
Christian getting some sage advice from Celine. Kira Hoyle take her turn on as an exhibition on beam.
As we talked about, Western Michigan really struggled on beam last meet, but she was one of the gymnasts that actually hit the routine all the way through.
I was able to catch up with her coach, Amy Riefel, at the Nittany Gymnastics Academy, where she came from, and she says she's extremely a hard worker. She puts the highest dedication to her work. She's positive, encouraging, she helps others, but most of all, she's a goofball, but she has the biggest heart.
Last meet, she got a 9.525 on this apparatus.
Unofficially, Denasia Christian on her last floor routine, a 9.25. So Kira Hoy finishing things off for Western Michigan as an exhibition. Now, ladies, we've seen a variety of gymnastics tonight. What has just been your biggest takeaway?
The biggest takeaway is perseverance. This has been a rough meet for both teams if you look back on all the routines that we have seen. But both teams were really able to pull it together and just carry that momentum to each event and just have fun with it.
And I couldn't agree more, Kelly. It really has been a little tough here tonight. I think coming in, we had a little bit too much energy going into vault, a lot of stumbles on vault. Then as we moved into beam, we saw a lot of huge bobbles. So it truly has been pretty even across the board as far as skills go. It really, truly is going to come down to tenths.
So Leka will take her spot, an exhibition spot.
Again, the presence is just amazing on floor. Jessica really does know how to dance, and this is probably one of my favorite routines next to Sarah Ebeyer.
I was able to catch up with Coach Salim earlier this week, and I asked her, what's the key to your team's success? And she had one answer for me: it's culture. Having an internally motivated team, and really to show that it's a privilege to be in athletics. And I think tonight we're seeing that culture shift, that they're buying into the program, and they're getting close.
That pass right there was just giving her a little bit of trouble during practice, but she was able to pull through beautifully. Beautiful jump series, no deduction.
As we see, we get some encouragement from Miranda Kuehl, encouraging her teammate Leko. Unofficially, that exhibition for Western Michigan on being Kira Hoy, a 9.675.
I think that's a good score that could possibly move her into the rotation here soon.
It would certainly bode well as Leko finishes up her floor routine. We're going to keep it here. As Ball State just finished up their floor. And we mentioned this earlier before, it's going to come down to tenths.
When we talked to Coach Salim, she really emphasized that it's not about the competition. It's not about who they're going up against next. It is simply about being here and competing at the best that you can. She said she wants her gymnasts to go out there and be confident and have fun. And I truly think that here tonight, despite what was going on, these gymnasts were confident and had fun.
Yeah, despite their struggles tonight, they were able to really pull together on floor and have really awesome floor routines that captured the audience, and I think all of them had fun.
Again, a reminder, Salim's message: every meet is a practice, every practice is a practice towards working for the end of the season, the MAC championships. Ball State sitting in good position tonight. If you're just joining us, Western Michigan, Ball State Gymnastics on Sportsline TV. Jacob Bartleson on hand with Allison Wilson and Kelly Barak.
We are just waiting for those final scores to come through. Honestly, between these two teams, I don't know if it's about score. I think it's about learning what their mistakes were this meet and moving forward with that, going into more MAC play. Both teams are about midway through the season. Keep your girls healthy, keep improving, and get ready for MAC championship.
And they definitely can't dwell on past scores. If they take this score and whatever it may be and carry it to the next event, it can really affect them. So I think that pushing forward, moving forward, and just increasing and getting better from here is definitely something that needs to happen.
So as we await the results of tonight's meet, again a reminder, this is the Think Pink and Alumni meet. So fans, as you see, were able to support cancer and support their friends and family.
Such a good turnout here, and you can't help but notice just how many fans Ball State has. Such a big support system. Despite whatever happens, these fans always come back. Ball State Gymnastics is 0-6, and the fans have never left.
Definitely a strong showing from the Ball State and Muncie faithful. Charlie Cardinal getting in on the action, some high fives.
Now, if you guys can remember back to the very first meet of the season, it was against University of Florida, of course, known for being national champions. There was over 2,000 people crammed into this stadium. We had the other basketball court open actually to make more seating. Truly an impressive turnout.
Yes. And Florida coming in, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, was the #1 team coming in.
Absolutely.
In the country.
Absolutely. And Ball State stayed right there with them the entire time. When we talked to Coach Justin about it, he said, we knew we weren't going to beat Florida. It was never about beating Florida. It was about showing the fans that we have that we can keep up with them. It was about showing them, look, we have the same skills as the #1 team in the nation. That's what it came down to.
As we await the final scores, we're going to step aside for a quick break. You're watching Ball State Gymnastics on SportsLink TV.
We went around the country talking to people who made the switch to Ford.
I loved the look of the Fusion. We test drove it. I was like, this is my car. The all-wheel drive is amazing. I felt so secure.
You can do it, Emmy! EcoBoost is when you can take a 4-cylinder and make it feel like a 6-cylinder.
I drove the Fusion, and I never went back.
Make the switch to America's favorite brand and get a Ford Fusion with 0% financing for 60 months plus $1,000 cash back. Or lease one for only $189 a month.
What you achieved in the past doesn't give you a right to anything. Honor those before you, whose banners hang from the rafters. Understand the hours, the pain, the sweat, the sacrifice. Are you all in? This is your time. This is your town. This is your team. It's time for Ball State basketball.
Hey, can you help me move?
Oh, you know what? I'm stuck at the office.
Hi, I'm moving.
No problem, sir. You can get your Xfinity services installed on the date you choose or have a self-install kit sent to your new home.
Thank you.
Finally get some help moving. Call 1-855-MOVE-EDGE today.
Hundreds of real-world interviews at Ball State helped me realize the responsibility that comes with being in front of the camera. Society needs passionate journalists. Now I'm on air in DC with the whole world watching. Ball State, education redefined.
And as the clock ran down, I sank the jumper.
And took the big trophy home.
And Aunt Jane.
I guess I did all right. But look at them. Great old coaches, Hall of Famers.
And Dad ran in the Olympic trial.
Your cousin played in the Sweet 16. And how about the College World Series?
That was awesome. If only I
can. You both can. I'm already proud of you. Now, who gets these?
Me!
The Mid-American Conference. Generations of champions since 1946.
Welcome back inside Irving Gymnasium as Ball State and Western are awaiting the final results of their meet tonight. Jacob Bartleson on hand alongside Allison Wilson and Kelly Brock. Now, ladies, as we get set and we're waiting, Broncos from Western Michigan, of course, is from Kalamazoo. For those who are unfamiliar with Kalamazoo, at one point, it was home to the Gibson Guitars up until 1984 when they left and went to Nashville. Now, some famous Gibson guitars, of course, is Lucille and Les Paul. Kalamazoo, very well known and respected as we're waiting along our final results here. As we get our final results here on floor, Brooke Evans a 9.650, Shelby Arms a 9.400, Caleb Beckler a 9.8, very, very strong for her. Sarah Ebeyer as well, 9.8. Erin Patchy, 9.875, great middle for Ball State. Denasia Christian following that up as well. So as we get some final recognitions for both teams, I know we've rehashed this, but looking ahead, what do we take away from this meet?
I think that we could take away from just learning from the mistakes and moving forward. is definitely probably the strongest thing that we can take from this meet.
I have to agree with Kelly. You know, it was emphasized in practice that we set in on. You need to practice just how like you perform. And so whatever they do in practice leading up to the next meet, which is going to be against Eastern Michigan, is exactly what we're going to see in performance. This was a good chance for a lot of girls to get in on exhibition and see where the lineup needs to change, if at all. And when we talked about possibly adding in more skills, I think what we need to do is just focus on the ones we have, perfect them, not think about any more difficulty, but instead think about just perfecting what's been performed tonight.
Salim's message has been paying attention to mistakes and having to fix them. So a reoccurring theme, a very strong one, as we're getting some smiles from the team here. They look happy, obviously.
Definitely a close-knit group of girls, and I just don't know if every sport has the same community as gymnastics does.
As we get some final scores from Western Michigan on beam, Anna Corbett a 9.700, Kelsey Hood a 9.675, Jessica Yunchai 9.775, Brittany Aragon an 8.850, a little low from her, Peshek a 9.175. And on that note, Kayla Weber finishing 9.750. So a great finish for Western. Hello, everybody. Welcome inside Irving Gymnasium. Hello, Jacob Bartleson, Allison Wilson, and Kelly Barak. We have some a final score for you. We got some good news for if you're a Ball State fan. Ball State a 193.55. Western Michigan a 193.275. Ball State is victorious.
This will mark Ball State's very first win of the season, and what better time than 4 meets down, 4 meets to go. This is the statement they needed to make. When we talked about exclamation points at the beginning of the meet, this is what we're talking about.
Most definitely. They were able to pull it together, like we said, and really just make everything pull together and just be great for the finishing of the meet.
So now that the monkey is off your back, so to speak, with that first win, how do you build on that? I know we've been talking about the mistakes and paying attention to that, but now you've got that first win under your belt. Where do you go from here?
It's all about carrying the momentum, honestly. Taking this win and saying, yes, we won. But there is still an opportunity to win or lose in the next meet, and that shouldn't affect our gymnastics.
Ball State victorious in their first meet of the year, 193.55. We're going to step away for a quick commercial break. When we come back, some final statistics and interviews coming up next. Ball State Sports Link TV.
Get ready, unsuspecting TVs and laptops in a UVerse home. We're about to compare you to Xfinity. When 2 HD movies are playing in a UVerse home, their fastest internet slows down. 2 HD movies in an Xfinity home? The internet stays fast because it's 2014. Hello?
Ugh. Solar season.
Exactly. Fast never goes out of fashion.
Indiana lawmakers have replaced thousands of paper documents with iPads. Ball State created a special app, and my team integrated it into the complex legislative process. My next step, one of the nation's top law schools. Ball State, education redefined.
Stoops Automotive is proud to present Ball State's only all-sports magazine show, telling the best stories in Ball State athletics. The Emmy Award-winning Driven airs locally on WIPB-TV, across the state on Comcast Indiana, nationally on Fox College Sports, and on demand at ballstatesports.com. Ball State Sports Link and Stoops Automotive, driven to be the best.
Welcome back inside Irving Gymnasium as the Ball State Cardinals are victorious for the first time this season, defeating Western Michigan. And I'm going to introduce and welcome the head coach of Ball State Gymnastics, Joanna Salim, to our broadcast booth tonight.
Hi.
Coach, congratulations on the first win. How does your team feel tonight?
Thank you. I think they're pretty excited. It's always great to get that first win of the season under your belt. So they went out and worked really hard for that tonight.
Definitely a lot of hard work shown. Any girl in particular that you're most proud of, or are you most proud of your team effort?
You know, I think that you have to look at the team effort for this season. We've had a lot of injuries at the beginning of the season, so a lot of those key players kind of came out, and we've had those young ladies that were kind of maybe fighting for a lineup spot this season. They've worked really hard to be able to come in and be competitive. So, you know, everybody worked together, they dug down deep, and they did really well.
Now coming in, you're halfway through the season. You're four beneath you, 4 in front of you. You're going against Eastern Michigan next. What do we do from here to prepare for that Eastern Michigan team?
We were kind of preparing this season, and we knew that January was going to be a lot of really tough competition. I mean, starting off against the national champions. So our focus was to come out, get the floor underneath our feet, so to speak, make sure that we knew how to go out and compete as a team, and make sure that we took the gymnastics we were doing in the gym into the competition arena. And so we knew that that was going to kind of look bad as far as like win-losses in January, but they were really consistent, and they've done a great job of coming out and doing the gymnastics that we do every day. So then February was, okay, we're going to get into MAC play. Now it's time to get all those little landings under control, all of those little tenths that we need to get back. We've got a lot of work to do on vault, making sure that we're not taking 2 and 3 steps out of our vaults. So there's a lot of cleaning up to do, and that's what the plan is for the month of February, to get us prepared for that MAC competition.
Now, Coach, you have Eastern coming up next on your schedule. Anything in particular to pay attention to, something you're looking forward to building off of your first win?
For us, whenever you're competing against another team, it really doesn't matter what the other team is going to be doing as much as what we have to do, because head-to-head competition in gymnastics is a little different than, you know, softball or baseball. You don't really do a lot of scouting, so to speak, of the other team. But for us, it's really going in the gym and making sure that we put a lot of polish on these routines and make sure that we're finding those landings.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for us tonight here on the broadcast for Ball State SportsLink TV. Ball State again victorious for the first win on the year, beating Western Michigan tonight inside Irving Gymnasium. On behalf of Allison Wilson, my colleague also Kelly Barak, Gene Smith, and Rick Martin, and my WIPB Ball State SportsLink crew, we thank you for watching our presentation of Ball State SportsLink TV. Good night, everybody. Drive home safely.